Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to show number 2. This is Justin MIRIGLIANI, the host of You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. And today I'm flying solo. We've had some weather difficulties down in Florida. So Dr. Jacalyn Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck is producing the show for us today, but won't be on. So I'm going to fly solo. So if you want to help me out, if you want to work with me, you certainly can chat in. That would be great. We could have a chat conversation. If not, I'll just talk about what the topic is going to be today. And remember what we talked about last week. We talked about the fact that this show is going to be about not having answers to all of the questions. I don't have the answers to all the questions. It's trying to find them. That's really the ultimate key is looking and searching and trying to see what is the best way to live your life. And the way I live my life might be different than the way you live your life. And that doesn't make one right or wrong, depending on what you do. But in the case of anger, that's what we want to talk about today. That's a topic that really, for me, has been a roller coaster ride. I don't know how other people feel, but I remember I grew up in South Philadelphia, and I wouldn't say that it was the toughest neighborhood in the world. I don't, it wasn't like there was gunplay every night or there were, although that did happen on occasion, but there certainly were fights. There certainly were fist fights, and there was a lot of after school, I'll meet you in the park, the schoolyard, or I'll meet you on the street and things like that. And it was just something that you got used to. And I would say, in my experience, for myself, I got into a lot of fights. Certainly didn't win them all, didn't lose them all. I would probably say maybe won 75%, lost 25%. So I know what it feels like to be on both sides, to take a little bit of a beating and to have, to win a fight. But that's kids, and usually with kids, nobody gets hurt. Nobody gets really injured. I mean, maybe somebody gets a bloody nose, maybe somebody gets a bloody lip. Somebody might have a little lump over their eye or something. I remember I had a couple black eyes and things like that. But I mean, we weren't big enough and strong enough to really hurt each other to the point where you had to go to the hospital or lose teeth and things like that. So it's kids today. I know it's a lot harder. I think that a lot more. There are a lot more stops in place for that stuff to happen. But back then in the 80s. That wasn't the case. Bullying was generally accepted. The 90s, even in high school, bullying was generally accepted. If it was blatant, maybe the teachers would stop it, but that was about it. But for me, my journey with anger has been different. It depends on the situation. I was probably more of a timid kid. I shouldn't say probably. I definitely was more of a timid kid, especially up through maybe, I would say, second grade or so. And I really it was non-confrontational. I would back away. I really, didn't want to be confrontational. I wanted to, I was afraid to fight. I didn't want to get into even verbal confrontations. I was very timid. And then around third or fourth grade, I started to toughen up a little bit. You can see that we have the pop up on the screen there of LinkedIn, but started to toughen up a little bit and stick up for myself a little bit. And you learn to do that as a kid. That's something that you learn, and I did that, and I wouldn't say I fought every day or was angry every day. I think I was a pretty happy kid. I did have mental illness back then, anxiety, depression, and OCD. But I wouldn't say that I had an anger management issue back then. Um, and then uh, as I got a little bit older, as I got into my early teens, I really was kind of on the small side. I really didn't fill out. I got taller. I grew to be 5'9" in eighth grade, and I thought, wow, I'm going to be a pretty tall guy, and I'm still 5'9" at 49 years old. So that kind of didn't pan out. But I really wasn't very big. I was a thin kid. I was 114 pounds going into high school at 5'9". You can imagine how thin that was going into high school. And again, I encountered bullying, and again, I reverted back to my old ways. I reverted back to being timid and being afraid and not sticking up for myself as much as I should. And for me, there was a feeling of shame that I wasn't, even though I wasn't even a man yet, wasn't a real man because I didn't stick up for myself and I didn't do the things that somebody who's has self-respect does. And I backed down. And again, anger built up. Um, Being bullied, we see what happens, obviously, in the extreme, which is horrible and obviously not the answer, but you see what happens sometimes with school shooters today because they've been bullied. I don't understand that mentality. I understand their pain. I understand what they've been through. I don't understand how they take it to the point that they want to kill somebody. I think that's where, obviously, my thought was begin to get stronger, get tougher. And I bought a weight set and began to lift weights and get stronger. And I think we had somebody come in. Yeah, we got some live watchers today, so that's great. If anybody wants to chime in, please feel free. Just I'll keep taking a look at the chat. So I bought a weight set and it wonders for me. It really did. It boosted my self-esteem. I mean, I put on muscle, I put on weight. By the time I was a junior in high school, I was finally strong and bench pressing well over 225 pounds. And by senior year, almost 300 pounds. And I weighed 150 instead of 114. So I put on a lot of weight, put on over, close to 40 pounds. And uh, that changed things a lot as far as me being intimidated. And it was anger that drove me to better myself, I think, in that way. So in some ways, anger can be a good thing. It made me have more respect for myself. It made me uh, have more confidence. Um, and it pretty much stayed that way for a long time. And I continue to lift weights to this day, and I feel pretty confident in myself and that I can protect myself and my family. And um, so, oh, we have a comment. Let's see what the comment is. Dr. Jacalyn, I didn't see that. Oh, hey, there's Joe Del Campo. Joe, good to see you here. Welcome to the show. Good to have you. Joe Del Campo, great photographer. If you have photography needs in the Philadelphia area, he's the guy to go to. So you can always reach out to me and I'll help point you in that direction. Uh, so um, what triggers anger in me? So and this is me. This is not everybody else, but what triggers anger in me? The first thing is fear. If I'm being honest, the first thing is fear. when I'm afraid, when I'm anxious, I don't go to fall apart as far as crying and woe is me and all that. I go to anger. That's the emotion that hits me first. One of the stories I've told before on the air is when I was told that I needed my colon removed when I had the total proctocolectomy, and they told me that I was going to have a permanent ileostomy. And yeah, I cried, but I also tore the sheets off the bed and I flipped the king size mattress over, and I was livid and I was punching everything. I really was just so angry and so upset. And the anger was a manifestation of the fear. So that's one thing that for me is a trigger. And I think we all have different triggers. I think people have different triggers. Another trigger for me would be certainly if my family was in trouble, protecting my children, defending my children. I have mixed emotions about what's appropriate anger for um, if somebody hurts your children. You hear stories like there was one not too long ago. A guy came home and found his son was being molested and caught the perpetrator in the act and just really just beat him up. I mean, beat him severely. And some people would say, it's not appropriate to do that. It's you should just restrain him and call the cops. And you know, in the heat of the moment, in a situation like that, I try to put myself in those positions, and I think would I do the same thing that dad did? And whether it's good or bad, I think I would. That's the feeling that I would have. That's I don't know that I would be able to stop myself. I wouldn't take somebody's life unless it was to save my child's life. But would I injure someone who is hurting my child? Yes, I think I would, and I think most people would. Now, and to varying degrees, of course. I mean, some people would feel sorry about it afterwards. Some people feel excited. Some people would be proud of it. Some people would have all different emotions. But I think that's everybody's different. Everybody's different. When I played hockey um, in high school, my first 2 years was when I was pretty small, and then junior and senior year I got bigger, and then when I played in college, played on a roller hockey team, and um, I remember I was playing, and it was a really rough league. It was a league where a lot was let going on that shouldn't have happened. There were people who got hurt, and there was a lot of young 18, 19, 20, up to 25, 30-year olds who still had a lot of ego and a lot to prove and a lot of testosterone flying around. And there was an incident where my brother was injured and wound up with a broken neck in 1997. And you know, again, family member. I'm 22 at the time, and I have that rage in me, and I decided that the next time we play that team that there was going to be retribution, and they played us again, and the guy who had injured my brother came over to me before the game, said, listen, I heard that your brother was injured, and they say I did it. And he said, it's hockey, things happen. And I said, oh, you're right, hockey, things can happen. And I think he knew what I meant. I think he knew that I meant that there was going to be retribution. And he had brought really a goon with him. He brought this big guy, he's probably like 6'5", 6'6", and tried to intimidate me. And at 22 years old, I was I don't. Do I get intimidated? Do I feel fear? Yes. Do people know it? No, I don't show any of it. You would never know if I'm intimidated or not. Inside, I might be, but on the exterior, you're not going to know that because I'm not going to let you see it. So I just kind of shrugged and said, well, let's see what happens tonight. So in any event, the bigger guy later in the game hurt my brother again. He hit him from behind after my brother had had the broken neck. And my brother was laying on the ground and injured. And the bigger guy was standing over top of him and he was laughing. And it was like a switch in my mind. I just felt the anger and I took off and I skated as fast as I could. And he never saw me coming. And I just ran him over. I mean, I hit him in the back and put him head first into the wall. And if you ever watch a cartoon, it was like he actually hit the wall and slid down like Bugs Bunny and kind of just laid on the ground. And I stood over him and I said, is it funny now? Is the joke still you still laughing or that type of thing. And I went through a lot. 1997 was a tough year for me. I had graduated college. My brother got hurt. Had to break up with a serious relationship that was really painful, and I struggled with that. Um, Everything was kind of going wrong, and I was doing things that I shouldn't do when I was playing hockey. I was using it as a way to take out my frustrations because you can't just walk down the street and pick a fight with somebody, nor did I want to, but I felt like this was my release. This is my ability to go out and just do what I wanted to do. If I wanted to run you over, I'd run you over. If I wanted to knock you down, I'd knock you down. If I wanted to slash you, I'd slash you. And obviously people don't take kindly to that. So there would be fights galore. And um, you look back at 49 and you say, wow, I should have really had a lot more control of my temper. But at the time it was kind of tough. Um, and then, you know, there are times where I want to be the total opposite, where I want to be forgiving. I want to let things go, where I don't want to have that feeling, where I don't want to feel rage. I will be the first to admit that I have a bad temper. Now, with all that I've said about the things that I've done playing hockey and the things that I've done in my early 20s, the last time I had a fist fight with anyone was at 22 years old. And so I'm 49 now. So obviously, I'm not a violent person. I'm not somebody who goes out and starts trouble or looks for a fight or tries to get into, I walk away from everything. I had road rage. Uh, do I still have road rage? Yeah. Do I control it? Yeah. I don't really beep the horn anymore. I don't scream out the window. I don't, give the finger. I don't do all those things. I just kind of, curse to myself or punch the seat next to me or something like that. But that's about it. I mean, I don't let it get beyond that. So you learn to mellow, I guess, as you age. But I want to be more in that vein. Um, and it's not always easy. There are also, as people know me over the years, especially over the last 3 years, I've been going through a lot with mental illness, with depression, anxiety, and OCD, and it's been a struggle and it's been a frustration. And um, there are times where there is rage. There's actual feelings of I need to do something. I need to let go of this energy. So I have what I have called, and I'm just checking the chat here. Um, let's see what the question is. I want to check that out. So yeah, we had a question and a comment. So Dr. Jacalyn, what was the question? Let me see. When does fear lead to tears versus anger? That's a really great question. I'm not sure who asked that question, but um, that to me is one of the scariest things to see. And I mean that. That's one of the scariest things to see. On 9/11, 2001, I was teaching in Raritan, New Jersey, which is about 50 minutes, 45 minutes outside of New York City. And we just heard the news, and I went to my car and I was putting my stuff away because they canceled the day. They said, just go home, everybody go home. So I went to my car and I heard a high-pitched scream, but it almost sounded like laughter. And I thought to myself, well, who could be laughing right now, with something going on like this? And I turn around and I see a gentleman. He was probably in his 20s. I was in my early 20s. No, I was 26. He was probably close to 30, 32. And he wasn't laughing, he was crying. And my first instinct was to go over there and see if I could help him and see, what obviously there was something personal had happened. I think either he knew somebody in the buildings or he knew somebody on the plane or whatever. It just the amount of emotion was the crying, the shrieking was just unbelievable. And as I went to walk over there, he literally punched the side view mirror off his car. He was pounding on his car, just punching and punching and punching. So in all honesty, I really did refrain. I didn't know if he was going to hit me, and I would never have defended myself against somebody going through something like that. So I figured it was better off just to kind of leave him and let him collect himself. So in some ways I regret it. I wish I would have gone over and, if he hit me, he hit me. But uh, I that man right there, to me, when you see somebody crying tears of rage, is one of the most dangerous people on the earth, because they have gotten to a point where they are beyond being able to control themselves. There's that switch that clicks, and it's a very scary thing to me. I have cried out of pure anger maybe 3 times in my life, and all 3 times I really had an immense amount of strength, power. Um, One time I don't know if anybody ever saw Bo Jackson when he makes that catch and he runs up a wall. I remember one time I ran up a wall. I was crying out of anger because something had happened. And that scares me. That does scare me. That's a really I have a theory, and I don't know if this is right or wrong. I think that we cry when our body can't take the emotion anymore, no matter what it is. When people laugh really hard, they cry, right? When people are very, very happy, they cry. When people are very sad and it's extremely sad, they cry. When people are very, very angry, sometimes they cry. So I think crying is your body's way of releasing emotion that you can't hold anymore, that your body just can't hold. So that's a really good question. I think that's when the tears come. I think that when you've hit a point. I mean, think about these 2 hockey players who were just killed in New Jersey by a drunk driver, Johnny Gaudreau and Matty Gaudreau, run over by a drunk driver in late August 28th, I think it was. And think about how the parents have to go through life now, losing 2 kids at 29 and 31 years old, respectively. And some people have the capacity to forgive. Am I one of those people? I don't know. I hope I never have to find out. I don't want to have to find out. But and I commend people who can do that. I do. I think that I give them a lot of credit for being able to do it. I think it's extremely rare, and I think it's really difficult. I think if you were to ask, you know, uh, the parents, Guy, especially the father, who is taking it really hard. You could see it. I don't think you would feel a whole lot of sympathy for or forgiveness for what happened. Now, I could be wrong, but I think it'd be very, very hard to muster that up. The other one I think of a lot, and I'm really a big fan of John Walsh. John Walsh wrote a book called Tears of Rage, and it's about Adam Walsh, his son, who was kidnapped and beheaded in 1981. And John Walsh, to me, when I see him, is an angry man. He's still very angry, and I can understand why. He lost his 5-year-old kid. His 5-year-old son was taken away from him, and he'll never get him back. And there's rage. He's done good with it. He didn't go out and hurt other people. He went out and he started a career to help catch criminals, and he put the rage to good use. So I don't think rage is all bad. I think that rage, when channeled correctly, can be a positive. It can. It's not good for your health, though. Let's be straight about that. Uh, it makes your heart race. It really does wreak havoc on your brain. It's not something that's really good for you. If you can control it, it's much better to control it. But you know, I have a system now for myself, and I have a name for it. I call it calculated destruction. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I'll give an example. A few weeks ago, or months ago, actually, uh, was going through some tough stuff and was really angry, really frustrated, and just out of my mind with rage. And I picked up an old hockey stick that was already broken. Because hockey sticks today, I don't know how people who don't play hockey know, they're hundreds of dollars. I picked up one that was a wooden stick that was about $35. Already had a crack in it. It was broken. So I just used it to practice with a little bit, but it could never be used in a game. It was busted up. And I destroyed that hockey stick. I swung it like a baseball bat up against my weight machines and just smashed it into smithereens all over the place. I mean, there's shards of wood everywhere. And somebody might say, "Well, that's losing your temper. That's something that you shouldn't do. You should have more control than that." But to me, that is control because I didn't go and hurt somebody. I didn't go and yell at somebody. I didn't go out and start a fight with somebody. I didn't go and take somebody's parking spot and challenge them to a fight. I didn't break something of value. I broke something that was already broken. So, did I really do anything that was really that bad? No. I let loose, and that was calculated. I thought about it, and I did something to help relieve the stress. You know, another time, I picked up a 70-pound dumbbell and heaved it from one end of the gym to the other end of the gym, and that was just out of pure anger. Um, Not proud that I did it, but certainly know why, because there was rage. There was rage, and it was calculated. It was I could get my energy out doing this. Sometimes I hit the heavy bag. I'll go and I'll box. I'll hit the heavy bag and I'll do that for an hour and a half and just pound and pound away and just throw punches. And nobody's getting hurt. Nobody's getting injured. I'm not yelling at anybody or screaming at anybody. I have gloves on, so I'm not hurting my own hands. I'm doing things that just kind of get me through that moment. So I think that there are ways to channel it. Now, more recently, I was just checking the chat there. More recently, I had a situation where my daughter's on TikTok, and somebody sent her a picture of his genitals on TikTok. Now, as a father, that's difficult for me to accept. It's something that I was livid, and I really, not smartly, but I went on social media and I put his name out there and I said, listen, who so and so, I'll just keep the name to myself. If you want to show somebody your genitals, I'll be glad to meet you, at the nearby mall and let me see them close up, meaning I'm coming to get you. Um, Smart move? No, no. But it's a natural instinct when it's your child and somebody does something like that that could be damaging emotionally to your child or physically. In this case, emotionally. She was scared. She didn't know what to do. Is this guy going to come to our house? You know, um, the father in me, the man in me was wanted revenge. I wanted a chance to lash out. Now, obviously he didn't answer the call, but that's the feeling that I had. I have a weather page on Facebook, mainly for the Philadelphia, Delaware, New Jersey area, Poconos, northeast, southeast as well, especially with snowstorms. And Sometimes I miss, like all weather people. I'm not a meteorologist, but I know something about meteorology, and I talk about meteorology, and I predict forecasts, and it's a fun hobby for me. And we have about 4,000 people on the page, and probably more that don't officially follow it, but check it from time to time. And sometimes I'll miss a forecast, and somebody will say, you missed this, and I'm coming to get you. There've been very, very few. I mean, very few. I mean, out of the 15 years or whatever I've been doing it, maybe 3 or 4 times somebody has threatened me that, if I see you, I'm going to do this to you, or um, I'm coming to your house. Somebody wrote they were coming, things like that. And there's part of me that's like, well, go ahead and look up my address and see what happens. And then there's the other part of me that's like, do you really want to put your family in the position where somebody dangerous could be coming to your house? And of course, that's the choice to make. The choice to make is just ignore it. And that's what I do. I just ignore it. I don't, and I block them, because odds are most people are not going to do the things that they say they're going to do. I think a lot of us are afraid of our own fear, or afraid of our own anger. I think that I know a lot of people who don't admit that they get angry, or downplay their anger, and don't let on how angry they get at times. Your thoughts are not your actions. They're two different things. They're two different things. Did I want to get my hands on the guy who sent the pictures of his private parts to my daughter? Yes. Did I actually go ahead and do it? Would I go ahead and do it? No. That's the difference. You have to have control, and people have control to varying degrees. And then what constitutes violence? I mean, is violence ever appropriate with anger? Well, I think, again, there are no absolutes with this kind of stuff. I think it could go either way. It depends on what it is. If somebody cuts you off and takes your parking spot or something like that, then of course not. You can't. You're not going to fight over that. Or if somebody calls you a name, and or is nasty to you, is that a time to be violent? No, of course not. Of course not. But if you're getting attacked, sometimes I work in the city, and I've actually seen people get attacked, and maybe there's police there, and that's great if there are, and that's what you want. That's the hope, that the police would get there and take care of it. But if they're not there, is it appropriate to defend yourself? Yes. Yeah, I think it's appropriate to defend yourself. I think I had a psychologist one time that I went to early when I was in my early 20s, and he said, there's never a reason to hit anybody. There's an absolute. Violence is never the answer. And I said, BS. I said, that's not true. And I still believe that. I think that it's the last resort, I think, but at the same time, I don't think it's never the answer. If somebody breaks into your house and you have to defend your family, do you say, well, gee, I don't want to be violent, or do you allow the person to do damage and possibly hurt or kill somebody in your family? I think the answer is pretty straightforward in my head. I'm not saying that you have to be happy about it or brag about it, but we have another comment, so I want to see what that is. So, Dr. Jacalyn, if we could put that up. Anger, hate are not things we were born with, but I find it really amazing how many times the words and feelings come out over trivial subjects. The world became a very violent place. I agree, Joe. I know that's Joe, his comment. I think, and I've been victim. I won't say victim. I've been guilty, because I'm not a victim. I've been guilty of being verbally violent in the past. And I say this in all honesty, in the past, on social media. I have said things that I shouldn't have said. I have insulted people in ways that I shouldn't have insulted them. I've said things that I shouldn't have, uh, um, that were offensive, because I was angry, and I allowed my anger to take control. And I really have gotten much, much, much better than that. But let's again look where that comes from. My grandmother raised 3 kids on social assistance, food stamps, welfare, because my grandfather passed away at 37 years old. She had 3 kids to feed, had a house, didn't have any skills that were marketable. She needed government assistance. So I would read on Facebook people who would say, well, all these freeloaders, all these people who are taking from us. I'm a taxpayer and not on my dime. I'm not going to feed anybody. I don't want to give anybody anything. And it's a and that's fine. If that's the way you feel, that's fine. But I would get angry because I would think about my family, my situation. I did not grow up that way. My parents were able to provide for us, and we never were on assistance. But my father was, and my aunt was, and my uncle was, and my grandmother was. And uh, how do I look at that and deny other people the same thing if they're in the same position today? I can't. So when I would see people really being angry and saying, boy, the bleeding heart person is ruining the country, and it's we shouldn't be helping these people get a job, get up. Well, it's not always possible. Now, are there people who milk the system? Of course. Of course. Are there people who fake injuries to get to workman's comp? Yes. I've known people who've done that. Do I agree with it? No, of course not. Does it make me frustrated? Sure. But does it make me frustrated enough to take away from the people who actually need it? No, it doesn't. I think that you have to live with some of the abuse of the system, and that's just the way it works. So, you're what you've experienced in life will also determine how you react to certain things. And somebody else feels differently. Somebody else, they might see the abuser of the system, and they look at that person and say, look at that, I'm paying for that person to sit at home and be on welfare, and they could work but they don't want to. And there are people who do that, but most people who are on assistance don't do that. It's simply not the case. The people who are on it usually are really needed. But the ones who don't and abuse the system, I get it. I understand the outrage. But at the same time, do you punish everybody else for other people's bad actions? In my opinion, no, you don't do that. You just don't do it. So, it just depends on where you've come from, what has happened in your life, and how you react to it. I think that we are in a dangerous world now. I think we're in a place where anger is unchecked. I think that we have to be okay with thoughts and understand that thoughts aren't actions. I think everybody has said one time, oh, I'd like to kill that person. Well, that doesn't mean they literally want to kill that person. They're just angry, right? And they say that's just like it's a saying. Or I'd like to punch that person in the nose. Well, you don't really want to punch that person. You're angry. You're saying that as something with anger. Okay. Do we have another comment coming in? What are your thoughts about anger being a cover for emotionally and physically and spiritually hurt? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I said at the beginning, and that's a big one. I think that's huge. I think when I'm hurt, I go to anger. When I'm hurt, I go to anger. I don't go to necessarily the sadness part of it. And yeah, I would guess it is a cover. I think men do it more than women, to be honest with you. It may sound sexist, but I do think that's the truth. I still think in today's age, it's more appropriate for women to cry than for men to cry, or at least be seen. I think I will tell you this, that most men, and I myself included, will cry, but won't do it usually in the open, will usually hide away and do it somewhere where they can't be seen and it's not noticed. So yes, absolutely. When you're spiritually hurt, emotionally hurt, I think that a lot of times anger is the cover. And I notice now when I get into arguments with family and friends and I'm angry, a lot of times I'll just turn around and just kind of smile at the wall. I know that sounds kind of weird and kind of strange, but I'll just think to myself, just smile at the wall, just turn around, don't look at them, just let it go because all it's going to do is keep fueling it. On social media, I have not put one political thing out on social media. And years ago, 4 years ago, I had a website that was extremely political driven. Um, that I worked on day and night, and I have decided that friendship and keeping the peace is more important to me now than my political views. So I'm willing to talk to people about their beliefs. I just don't let it get me angry anymore. But that was a really good question. That especially for men, I think that's a really big cover. I'm not going to show you I'm hurt. I'm not going to break down in tears and cry. I'm going to scream at you. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to punch something. I'm going to break something. Um, Maybe that's changing a little bit as we evolve. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But let's see if anything else. Any other questions come in? No. All right. So it's what would Justin recommend for people struggling with control of their emotions? So what would I uh suggest if you have struggles with control of your emotions and they feel like no one's listening? The number one thing, the number one thing is find a good therapist. I think to me, that's the most important thing is to find a good therapist because that's what they're there for. They're there to listen. That's their job. That's what they do. Find a friend who you trust. I have people call me all the time, and I know people probably think I'm making this up, but it's absolutely true. There are people who call me all the time with questions about ostomy or questions about mental illness, depression, anxiety. Justin, what did you go through? Justin, what did it feel like? Justin, what happened? How do I control my anger? How do I do this? And I say, look, sometimes I don't have all the answers, but you know what I do? I talk 10% of the time. Now in this show, I've talked 100% of the time. But if you were on the phone with me telling me your problems, all I would do is just listen to you and you know, just listen and ask probing questions. The most important thing to do if you feel alone is to try to find somebody who makes you feel like you're not alone. Somebody who, again, a therapist is the best option because they're trained to help you in this. But if you have anger management issues, finding a good friend who could talk to you and let you vent is good. And if you're the person on the other side, don't offer all kinds of solutions either. I don't offer all kinds of solutions to people. I ask them more questions about. I'll give you an example. They might say, well, this person hurt me. This person broke up with me after 6 months and with no reason and never left a reason, and I'm hurt. And my next question is, something like, were there any signs? Was there anything? I don't say, well, yeah, I've had relationships break up too. Let me tell you about my relationship that broke up or my relationship that went wrong or whatever. I don't do that. It's not about me at that point. It's about the other person on the other side. So the questions are all about them. Did you see any signs that were coming up? You know, were your feelings changing as time went by? What do you do now to make yourself feel better? How do you console yourself now? Those are the questions that you want to ask if you're on the other side when you're the one giving the comfort. Or if somebody's going to cry, just sit there and listen to them cry. You don't have to talk. If you're with them physically, you just let them cry on your shoulder, and that's it. Or if you're on the phone, you can just let them cry and then say, when you're able to compose yourself, let me know what you're feeling. Let me know, what you're going through. A friend of mine called me yesterday with a problem with his child, and it had to do with mental illness, and he needed advice. And I said, look, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you advice. I can tell you what I've been through, and I can tell you what it was, an anger issue. And I said, I can tell you what I've been through, and I can tell you what it feels like, and I can tell you how I control it. But you got to find a professional. But if you need to talk, if you need somebody to listen and just listen to your own pain because you're having to go through this too, because, right, parents go through everything with their kids. If your kid's hurting, you're hurting. So I told him, I said, call me anytime and we could talk. I said, I can't give you answers, but I could listen. So that was a really good question. I really appreciate it. Well, we're up against the clock here. So I'm going to, and oh, wait, we have another question. I'll field that. That's fine. We can go a little over. Dr. Jacalyn, if you could put that question up. I think we just had another one come up. Or did we? No, I think that's it. No more questions. Okay, there it is. Do you think it's an excuse to be mad at people who do not get angry? That's a great question. First of all, find me a person who doesn't get sad on earth. Find me a person who doesn't get happy on earth. Find me a person who doesn't get angry on earth. There's no such thing as somebody who doesn't know what anger is. Now, that doesn't mean that they are going to display their anger. They may choke it back. I know people who do this, who won't admit anger to anything. They seem like no matter what happens, they take it in stride. They don't get angry. And is it again, the question was, do you think it's an excuse to be mad at people who do not get angry? You feel what you feel. To me, if I'm angry at somebody and they're not angry, I'm going to pull them aside if they're a friend, if they're a close enough friend. If it's somebody I don't know that well, I'd probably just let it go. But if it's a close enough friend or a family member, I'd say, look, I'm pretty annoyed about this, and you seem to be taking this in stride, and I want to understand why. Why am I so upset, and how come you're not? And I'm not judging you. I'm not angry at you for. I'm angry that you're not more emotionally invested in what I think you should be, but tell me why. And maybe they have a good reason. Maybe there's a reason why they're not upset. Maybe there's a reason why they're not angry. But no, I don't think that's bad. I've had times where I've been livid with somebody and they didn't seem to care at all. Did that stop me from being livid? No, I was still mad. And then I might have told them. It might have been a situation where I pulled them aside and said, listen, you really annoyed me pretty bad yesterday, or you really got on my nerves, and you seem to not really care. You didn't seem to get angry when I kind of confronted you on it, and I want to know why. Did it not affect you? I'm learning now how different we are because I'm studying more about how different we are. Um, Most of us think that we are just like everybody else. And in a lot of ways we are. There are a lot of similarities, but there are also differences. I've worked in construction and I've worked in the corporate industry. And construction people make fun of the suits because they're not big and tough and strong, right? They're the ones who, oh, well, he's a suit, or she's a dress, and they sit behind a desk all day. They don't really work. And then you have people who are white collar workers who say, oh, look, these people don't use their brain. They just, do construction. Well, you know what? We need both, right? Somebody's got to build the bridges. The person like me, I'm not an engineer. I can't do any of that work. I can't do any of that labor. I don't have the skills to do it. So, but the people, we kind of look at what is most important to us, And we think that that's the most important thing. It's not. It's just one of the important things that we have. We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need construction workers, we need people who collect trash. We need people who do all these things. Nobody's better or worse. So it's the same thing with anger. I mean, the way people get angry and what they get angry, or how they get angry, is dependent on them. It's not a reflection of you. So if you think that you're doing something wrong if you're angry at somebody because they're not displaying emotion the same way you are, they're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just how you both feel, and then you try to come to some agreement. And one last thing as I end this, I've listened to religious stations, and I will not say I'm a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person, and I hear it all the time. Anger is sinful. Anger is sin. It's not sin. It's not sin. Anger is normal. It's natural. It happens. It's an emotion. It's what you do with it that matters. If you kill someone, there's the sin. That's the problem. If you hurt somebody, that's the sin. But if somebody hurts you or somebody angers you, you're not sinful. You're not doing something wrong. It's an emotion. You can't control that. It's like, how do you control when people say to me, why are you depressed? And I answer, well, why are you diabetes? Or why are you cancer? Or why are you emphysema? We have diseases, we have feelings that we don't control, that just kind of happen. And that's the way it is. So on that note, I know we've gone a little overtime. I don't think we have any more questions, but I want to thank you for your questions. I really appreciate it. Oh, wait, we do have one. What if they had therapy or coaches and learned how to direct their anger into productive or something else? Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. Productive anger is good. Productive anger, for me, the productive anger is going to the gym and lifting weights and or doing some cardio or something like that. That's the productive anger. Um, there are ways that you can learn how to be better at controlling your anger and be productive. One of the hard things to do, I think, for me, I don't know about other people, but for me, is, you know, somebody might say, sit down and write a letter. All right. If you're angry, write a letter. Our daughter was just taken off of her softball team unfairly, you know, and I'm being objective. She's probably the sixth, seventh best player on the team. She's not the best player on the team, but she's in the middle. She's got the best arm on the team. She could throw from home center field to home plate. She's the fastest runner. So for her to be cut, it was a political thing, which really annoyed me to no end. I was angry, and my psychologist said, "Sit down and write a letter. That would be productive." Well, I could not sit still and write a letter. I was too angry. I could not type. I could not write. I needed to talk. And I didn't use a lot of some foul language, I will be honest, but I didn't use a lot of it. And I didn't threaten him or say anything. But I told him, what you're doing is being a coward. And I said, I'm going to expose your team for what they are. And I'm going to let the rest of the people I know on Facebook and LinkedIn and on the weather page and everywhere else know, don't send your kids to this league, and don't put them on the team. And is that an appropriate use? Is that productive use of anger? Some people may say no. They may say, my psychologist said write a letter. Well, I couldn't. I physically couldn't sit down and write a letter. I did not have the capacity to do that. So I did what I needed to do. Did I go to his house and confront him and challenge him to a fight? No. No, that would be inappropriate. That would not be productive. But I told him the way I'm going to be productive is I'm going to warn people not to join your organization because of what can happen and the amount of money that would be spent, that we spent to help our daughter get better and play. And, if your kid is the worst player on the team and they get cut, that's a different story. You have to accept that. I mean, that's just the way it is. But when it's not justified, But yes, there are places that you can go. There are therapists that really work on anger management, and I think that's a good thing for people to do. I talk about it with my psychologist all the time about anger management. And again, I'm not anger doesn't mean violence. I have not been in a fist fight since I was 22 years old. And that one wasn't even my fault, to be honest with you. I won't get into the story, but that's I'm 49 now. I'm almost 50 years old, so that's ancient history. So I do have control of my anger. The person who gets beat up worst from my anger is me. I'm the one who pays the biggest price because I'm the one who has the stomach pain, and I'm the one who has the headache, and I'm the one who has a sore throat, and I'm the one who has the tension in my neck, and I'm the one who's got heart palpitations, and I'm seething and sweating, and so honestly, I pay the biggest price for my anger more than anybody else. All right, let's check just one more time, see if any more questions. No, we don't. We went a little over, but I want to thank you all for your questions. Isn't this great? This is only show number 2, and we have people coming in and being a part of the show, and I appreciate it. I hope this was helpful for you. I try to be as open as possible and let you know exactly how I feel and what thoughts I have. Some of them you may agree with, and some of them you may not, and that's okay. If you have different thoughts, that's great. If you don't, if you agree, that's fine too. Remember what we're going to do on this show. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about emotions. We're going to talk about spirituality. So there's going to be a whole mix of different things. We're going to have some video of me in the gym showing you how to lift weights, and we'll have them pre-recorded and show you some of those as well. Those are coming up. So we're going to do all of that. Remember, we have the Checkmates charity coming up, hockey game, August 23rd, 2025. August 23rd, 2025, next year, a celebrity NHL hockey game to support people with Crohn's colitis, ostomy, and also some other charities might be involved as well now, which is pretty cool. And if we could help a lot of people, that would be great. Rink holds 1,000 people. The restaurant holds 700 people, 2-hour buffet, 2-hour open bar, and we could stay there and close the place down. I want 1,000 people in that rink. And I said last week, I want 1,000 hugs that night. And I want 700 hugs at the dinner. So I want to see you there. I don't want just donations. I want people to come. How can they buy tickets? The tickets are not on sale yet. They are going to go on sale probably after the first of the year, 2025, because we're still a little bit out yet. But I have everything all set up for it. It's already ready to go, and we'll start selling tickets soon. But just letting people know, if you want to mark your calendars, it's a really fun event. A lot of NHL stars. Mark Recchi is going to be there if he can. Obviously contingent on availability. Rod Brindamore is going to try to make it. Kevin Dineen, Brian Propp, who's a friend of mine, will be there. Possibly, or Todd Fedoruk, former Flyer. A lot of Flyer legends are going to be a part of this, and hockey legends, and just a lot of fun. And then they come and eat dinner with us, and we have a great time, talk hockey, and get autographs and everything like that. So we're going to watch a short video on that, and then we're going to conclude the show. But as we say goodbye, I want to thank Dr. Jacalyn for producing today. I want to thank you for your comments and your questions. I really do appreciate it. I hope you join us every week. We're going to be on Monday nights. I know a lot of you in Philadelphia are watching the Eagles right now, so you probably have tuned out. But next week, no excuses, all right? So stay with us the whole time, and we'll keep chatting back and forth. So I'm going to sign off for the show. I want to thank you again for watching and for your time, and hope to see you next week. Stay tuned for the clip of the Checkmates Charitable Association.
Hey everybody, I just want to tell you how thankful I am that you came out tonight and helped us out on a very special evening. Crohn's and colitis are terrible diseases, and they affect a lot of people, not only in the Delaware Valley, but all over the world. And hopefully we can find a cure someday.
Sean here with you at the Checkmates versus the Flyers alumni. We had a great time this afternoon. Game was close, and we're all here for Checkmates Charities, which is the real reason that everybody's here, not only the players, but all the fans that were here. It was a great day, and we're really happy to be here.
It was fun to be out here at Northeast Skate Zone because the Checos were a pretty good team, and so we had a lot of fun with the charity. And it was good because they took it easy on us old guys. So we had a good time. So anytime you can do something for charity, and I know a couple guys on the other team, and just to be on the rink, we all go have fun.
Good times go. I'm either gone in an instant or here to the bitter, and I never know what I got.
I want to thank my family for all that they did to help me get through this, and there's a lot of planning that gets done. It has to get done. I want to thank Nick's Roast Beef and Common Avenue for all they've done. Dr. Prieto for saving my life and finding the disease and treating me for so long. And the Flyers organization for all they do to help us raise money every year. So thank